What's poppin' YouTube? D-Star back again with another tutorial, and today we're going to show you how to turn this shitty snare drum, well, it's not really shitty, but not so crazy snare drum, into this. Boom, which will work way better in your track. So guys, sorry for the delay, in the words of Lil Wayne, sorry for the wait, however he gets that codeine voice. It's been a few days of heavy studio work for me, so I haven't had time to take a few out of my day to cook up another video in the kitchen here. But we're here, and yeah, today we're going to talk about snare drums and processing. More videos to come. One of the good things about working in the studio for like 4 days straight with no sleep is that I've got a million more ideas that I'm like, damn, I should do a video on that. So we're going to be back on the grind now, so don't you worry. To all my subscribers, thank you. If you haven't subscribed, please hit subscribe now. It's my motivation. And also, if you want to send me a comment, please let me know. Let me shut my phone off. Please let me know what you want to see in the tutorial as well, in a future tutorial, and what you want to see, yeah, what you're stuck on and all that. I've been reading a lot of your guys' comments, all the comments, and I definitely take note on everything you guys say and request, so I put them in my list of ideas. So okay, so let's get it popping. I'm going to shut off everything, and I just grabbed like a Lin drum sample, which is kind of an old analog drum machine, and kind of a really historical drum machine. In fact, Prince kind of made it famous, which I'm sure you would recognize some of the sounds from, especially when doves cry and all that. But here's the snare drum, stock, and it's nothing too special, to be honest with you, but it does sound like a snare drum, which is nice compared to maybe the 808s or 909s, which have the completely, if you didn't know that they were snare drums, you would never think when you first heard that drum machine, man, that's a great snare drum. So I'm going to start out with the low cut here, and this is going to trim off all of that, and the reason we're doing that is to clean up the area so we have more room for later. We don't need the sub bass, and especially if you're going to do this like a house track, and you're gonna have a kick drum over it. So there's that, and again, your cut will be different depending on your input snare drum. Next up, we're gonna do the SSL EQ, and you're like, damn, already 2 EQs. Well, I like to cut with parametric EQs, and I like to boost with saturating analog style EQs per se. So first we start with this. I did a boost around 8,000 kilohertz, and here's how I came up with these. Actually, let's clear it really quick. And let me show you my workflow and how I walk through this. And we're going to just quickly do a boost here. Let's do a bigger boost. That's too low. I'm just going to kind of see where it grabs. I kind of like it down there. So we're going to go down there, we're going to pull it back. You can fuck your ears up if you get used to that sound. So make sure you constantly realize, like when you boost something that much, make sure you, if your shit's loud, turn it down. So that gets a little air in there. Let's ambient it really quick. Do a little bit more. I note this SSL. This is a Waves plugin if you haven't seen it before. 2 things. Make sure you shut this analog shit off. It sounds like doo-doo. It does not affect the sound. It just layers like a real analog noise floor. It sucks. It's one of the things I hate about Waves is that you can't shut it off on all of their plugins, which is infuriating. So we're going to do a quick boost there, and we're going to do the same thing here. I'm going to boost that a little bit obnoxiously, and I'm going to sweep for the frequency I'm looking for that I like, that gives it the most bite. And yeah, I mean, I think I like right where it started, so let's turn that back. Cool, I like that. And we're going to do a cut. It's kind of like I hear a big like thump underneath, and I want to just cut that a little bit. I think it's a little imbalanced. So, and I know that's going to sit right around 130, 140 in that area. So I'm going to grab that. I'm going to pull that down a couple of feet. Cool. So we're here. Let me turn this down a little bit so we can match the levels. And here's the before and after. So already the shape of the sound is good, and you can also turn this filter on if you don't use a parametric and you cut the lows here. I just like the visual. Cool, so let's move on. Next I'm going to do a convulsion reverb, which is actually a 480L, and you're thinking, damn, Donnie, you got the Altiverb. Damn, bro, like that's just crazy. I don't have that. Well, fortunately for you, you can Google L480 lexicon impulse responses. Let me write that down for y'all. Actually, I will put it down in the description. L480 lexicon impulse responses. And what does all that shit mean? It basically means you can download these files that people sampled from the Lexington Reverb, and you can essentially use it in IRL, which is the Waves reverb. I'm assuming you guys have some reverb that'll take these. If you're using Logic, you can import the impulse responses right into Logic, I believe, into the convolution reverb. Probably convolution reverb. I'm sorry I said that twice. Nobody's having convulsions. I'm sorry about that. But yeah, you got it. So what I did was I used the L480L, which is a classic reverb from the 80s. I love the way it sounds, and I used the small room setting. Basically, you want to grab something that's really tight, and a 0.5 second reverb is cool. And I even lower the reverb here about 80%. So let me show you what that sounds like. We're going to shut this off, and I'll pull it up so you can hear it. And that gives it a little bit of a room vibe, and without this tightened out, it's got too much of a tail. So we want to tighten that. We can even go more if you'd like. And that gives it a little bit of a room verb. You can also EQ it right here. Yeah, so on and so forth. I left it flat. But all those things will provide a little bit of a different tone. Next, we're using the Camel Crusher, which is an old plug, and you definitely don't need it. But I did this because I did this snare drum really quick. And I turned the compressor on, and I just cranked it up. And let's hear what this does. It adds a lot of bite at the attack there, so you can tell that the attack on the compressor is turned up probably around 30 to 50 milliseconds, and then the compression slammed pretty hard, and it just gives it a nice little attack. So I'm using this. I think it's a free plugin. It used to be free. It's been deleted from the internet because Apple bought them out. I know I'm throwing a lot of plugins at this, but I'm also trying to explain what each one does, so you have alternatives. For the SSL EQ, I recommend some sort of saturating EQ, not like a parametric like the ones built in Ableton that are very technical. You boost this, it boosts, and that's the end of it. And you cut it, and it cuts at that many. This saturates a little bit and has a tone. So try it. There's tons of free plugins out there. You don't need expensive as Altiverb to do this. Again, IRL is built into Waves. There's free convolution. Wow, convolution reverbs. I don't know why I say that out there that'll accept impulse responses, and people have recorded the 480L impulse responses for free. So I just do it this way because it's fast for me. And the Camel Crusher, I believe, is free, but you can also mess with the compressor. Try something like an 1176 in Waves, or anything but the built-in Ableton, compressor. That thing sucks, kind of. And then again, we're gonna do another cut here, and not very audible, but as you can see, there's crap building up again from all the boosting and stuff we're doing. And then I'm going to feed it into the Decapitator, which you can replace with Saturator. And this is the Sound Toys plugin, which I adore and love, and also makes me carry around my iLock, which sucks, along with a million other plugins. But I love this because you can audition 5 quick different types of distortion and saturation. Well, distortion, I guess, would be more it. And it also has a tone, which is kind of a tilt EQ. Bright is brighter, dark is darker. It's pretty cool. And there's also a low cut, which we could turn on too, and a high cut. So what I'm doing here is I'm just literally distorting the kick drum a little bit, or the snare drum a little bit. It's been a long week, sorry guys. And that gives it that bite. I bet you using Saturator really quick though, I could probably get a pretty similar sound. Let's try it. And I'm going to use the medium curve because I want something aggressive. And we're going to do, let's say, 4 dB a boost. Yeah, I don't think that's in dB. Well, that's louder. It doesn't have as much bite. And it has a little too much chew when you go to harder curve. But really like the way the Decapitator sounds. One of my favorite distortion plugins. But yeah, there's a bunch of free ones out there. Camel Crusher is even a free one. So try different ones, see what you like. I ended up using the T. If you click each one, it's a different sound. It's what I like the most about it because then I know exactly what's going to sound best. Next, we have the Transient Shaper, which you don't necessarily need, and I'll explain how to do it for free. And this just cuts the tail of the kick drum, or the snare drum, off. Check it out. And that tail was created by the reverb we put there, and I understand that. We're purposely getting rid of it for another reverb here, but check it out without the reverb. It has a particular tone even with the tail cut off. If you don't have a Transient Shaper like this, I think Native Instruments has got one too. You can just simply add MIDI track. You can, draw in a note for the snare drum, freeze and bounce it, and then just trim the tail naturally yourself. And it actually probably sounds better to do that than it is to use the Transient Shaper. Last but not least, we're going to do a Valhalla Room, and we're going to give it some reverb, and you can get kind of creative with it. I recommend pulling the depth down. This is another reverb. I love this reverb. It's my favorite reverb by miles. This and the vintage room or whatever that they make. These two are the best, and we're doing a really tight time here. The dark room is the mode, and 20% on the mix. Play with the pre-delay. You want the attack to kind of come out. Basically, the pre-delay is how long until the decay cuts in, or until the reverb cuts in. I'm sorry, I was reading. Pre-delay, so 20 milliseconds it's basically leaves the snare drum alone for 20 milliseconds, then the reverb starts to come in. So if you really push it up to an extreme, you'll hear what I'm talking about. So something like 20 is good to get that bite on your snare drum. 10 even works too. I usually keep it shorter. Remember, when you raise this though, the decay also turns up, so keep that in mind. So let's keep it down here, and then we're going to do a really short reverb, and the depth is going to be very close because I want the energy to make it feel like it's very close to the this basically, you know, gives you a perception of depth. So that makes the snare drum feel further away, and this makes it feel closer, and we want it to feel pretty close to you. So there it is. And that said, we're going to do a little limiting, and I wouldn't normally use the Ableton limiter personally, but I grabbed it because I was trying to get this done. And you are done, and you have this, what you have turned in from this. So I hope you enjoyed this. Again, a couple things you can play with. The Valhalla Room, you can turn the reverb up. You could try gating the reverb, which is another lecture for another day, but you can Google it. You can find some tutorials on that, I'm sure. Phil Collins is the inventor of gating the reverb on the snare, as far as I know. So shout outs to Phil Collins. With that said, we're going to get the fuck out of here. Enjoy your weekend, guys, and please hit like and subscribe. See y'all soon.